So in here, we'll just go with create cluster. That's going to be the free one. Then it's using AWS. Okay, awesome. As far as region, I'm going to go with this one. Provide all the necessary info. And once you have filled everything out, and as a side note, don't worry, this is not my real phone number. Then, of course, just click on sign up. And up next, they're going to ask for organization and project name. And in my case, I'm going to go with Node and Express course. Then I'll pick JavaScript. We'll click on continue. And we probably can actually skip this, but let's just leave it there. And up next, they want us to set up the cluster. Now, if you take a look at the checklist, actually cluster is already second step. So let's go back here, and pretty much you always want to shoot for a free one, unless of course you want to start paying them. So in here, we'll just go with create cluster. That's going to be the free one. Then it's using AWS. Okay, awesome. As far as region, I'm going to go with this one. Then we have cluster tier and additional settings, and we'll leave them both as default. And lastly, I just want to change the name, and I think I'm going to go with Node Express and project. And once we're done, we just need to click on create cluster, and we'll get ourselves a new cluster. Now, as you can see over here, they say that it's going to take a little bit of time, which is usually the case. So I'll stop the video here, and I'll see you next one where we'll continue with our steps. And once our cluster is ready to go, before we start messing around with data, so with collections and documents and all that, there's a few things that I want to do first. And I'm going to start by setting up the database access. So effectively in here, we'll set who can access our database. Now, I'm not talking about the Atlas account. No, I'm talking about the database and collections we're about to set up. And we simply need to click on add new database user. And we're going to go with password. And if you get some default values, just wipe them clean. And I'll simply go with John. And as far as the password, I'm just going to go with 1, 2, 3, 4. Please, please, please do not do that in your own setup. The only reason why I'm doing that because you'll be able to see my password anyway. And don't worry, once I'm done setting up this project, of course, I will change my password. So it's not going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. And once you're done with the user and password, notice we have database user privileges. And this user can read and write to any database. So I'll leave it the way it is, and we'll add a new user. That's good. I'll close this one. And then we want to set up the network access. So we want to set up from where we can access our database. And you can already imagine that, of course, once we deploy the project, then of course we'll set up that IP address. But for the time being, while we work locally, we might as well set up access from anywhere. Now, if you want, you can set up your own IP address here. So you can just add the current one. But in my case, I'm going to go with allow access from anywhere. And I'll just click on confirm. And lastly, I want to get the connection string that we're going to use once we connect our database to our application. And in here, what you're looking for is connect. So you want to go back to the cluster, then connect, and then you want to go with connect your application. So not the Compass one, not the Mongo shell, actually the second one here, connect your application. And then I'm going to go with 3.6 or later. That's about right. And then you just want to copy this one and then navigate back to our project. Now, eventually we'll set it up as the environment variable. Yes, that's going to be the case. But for the time being, I'll simply create a new folder in the starter and I'll call this DB. And then inside of the DB, there's going to be a new file and we'll call this connect.js. And then I want to create a new variable and I'll call this connection string and I'll set it equal to that value. Now we'll have to add some values over here, but we'll do that later once we're actually ready to connect our application to the database. So just take the string, copy